The United Nations Population Fund Youth Participatory Platform, in collaboration with the Lagos State Ministry of Youth and Social Development, launched the Boys Charter initiative to empower adolescent boys within Lagos State with regard to their sexual and reproductive health rights, and also encourage their participation in the fight against gender-based violence. This initiative was developed in response to the fact that globally, more attention is usually paid to matters of female sexual health and rights. Rightly so, since females constitute about 82% of reported sexual abuse cases globally. However, evidence suggests that several abuse cases often go unreported for fear of victim shaming and further harassment, even more so when boys are victims. Again, in the fight against gender based violence, efforts are usually geared towards the protection of females, providing support and counseling, and seeking justice for victims. The Boys Charter Project introduces a new perspective to the fight to end gender based violence. In most cases, males are often the perpetrators of these acts of violence against females. The project seeks to create an environment of accountability where young boys are trained to be sexually responsible and be against all forms of violence against women.
The Boys Shelter project is just basically aimed at ensuring that boys are included in the programming to end sexual and gender-based violence, and it's only when they are included that we can now hold them accountable. If they were not included in the first phase, there's nothing to be held accountable for. So, and also the policy advocacy tool that we're trying to draft is to design something that we can now present to relevant stakeholders. For example, Ministry of Health, Ministry of Education, Ministry of Youth. Oh, for the boys, for us to be able to effectively contribute to our communities, for us to be able to end and stamp out sexual and gender violence amongst other vices in our communities. This is what we want you to do for us. If you're able to do these things for us, we are promising that we'll be better citizens. So if we're able to draft this and we present it to them, we are hoping that they're going to adopt it and add it to their own policies, their internal policies. And when they're done, they can easily reach out to as many boys as possible. And on the long run, Agenda 2030 will be able to stamp out sexual and gender-based violence in our communities.
See, the needs of the boy child tribe are numerous, right? And it's very unfortunate that we are not talking about it. The boy child are human too. You see, in a bid to create a balanced community, we need to also talk about the boy child tribe, what they need. They are humans, they have feelings, they have emotions. So, and you see, the community, the society has assumed for the boy child tribe that naturally they should be strong. They've assumed a lot of things, which is wrong. But it's okay to cry. It's okay to be human. So that is why we need to talk about the boy child tribe to create a healthy and balanced community. It's about the mental health of the boy child tribe, right? Because we just so much have this basic assumption about the boy child tribe, like naturally you should know how to do a lot of things, naturally you should know how to man up, naturally you should know how to take some decisions, but it's not totally true. They are humans, right? You need to educate them. In as much as we are paying attention to the girl, which is good, we need to talk about these guys too. We need to talk about how they feel. Not you should not assume for these guys that no, you'll be fine. No, we need to educate them, tell them, guy, this is how you feel. Anytime you feel like this, communicate, learn to confide on person, like have a conversation with them. So I believe we should also sensitize this boy child, right? We should let them express themselves, basically.
Society, they are not handling the needs of the boy child carefully, let to be precise. Like the term boy child are strong, their men are not meant to be like for example, they'll say, boy, you're a guy now, stop crying. Why would you be crying where a guy is crying? It's not supposed to be so. Boys too have emotions. And the society needs to drag the boys out of immoral acts. Talk to them, give them, like, educate them more. Like, they need to be a bridge between the government in which boy, child, like male and female can reach the government, like a platform in which you can lay your complaint that this so and so things is not going well with the boys in my community.
Their rights are supposed to be the same because they are of the same they are the same persons, they go through the same process of growing up and doing other things together. Most times we hear everywhere about, okay, shun rape, stop raping girls, this and that. We don't mention guys. And we forgot that if we are educating ladies, girls, and we are not educating the guys, is the guys that we didn't educate that will later come and spoil the work we've actually done on the girls. So that's one of those barriers that we are actually creating. That if we can go back to the guys, the way we are educating the girls, we educate the guys too as well. It will help us. So both of them have the education, both of them have the knowledge, they have the understanding of, okay, this is this.
The need that we are talking about, the boys and the masculine gender, is actually a fight against nature, society, culture, religion, all in law. Because the reason why those things are made like that social identity, that differentiate between a male and a female, was given to us by religion, by culture. From in ancient times, during 1990s and those times when our forefathers were there, the male are the one who take up our task. So that has been the trend of the evolution till our stage. So it's not as if some persons just woke up and say the man must be the head of the family, the man must be the one to do strenuous activities. It's because that has been the tradition, that has been how we've done it. And in some religion, the husband is the head and the masculine is the head. So it has always been like that. So what we are trying to do now is to make them see another face of the gender, that the fact that I'm a male or I'm a female do not restrict what I can do not restrict what I can desire to have. So do not restrict what I can offer to the society. So I think there's a play of poverty, there's a play of society and culture too sometimes. Because, for example, if in rural communities where there are no access to this information, so boys are less careful while girls are given the center of affection. Because one of the scariest part of parenting a female child is getting pregnant at an early stage. So for the boy, the parents will like nothing will happen to him, and the only thing they will tell the boy is don't impregnate someone and you are fine, bye bye. Nobody will even question your movement. But for a girl, where are you going, where are you coming from, who are you moving with? Because they are afraid of just one single thing, getting her pregnant or getting her raped. But then what we forgot to understand is the fact that if these girls are being protected and all of those things, and the boys too are not being talked to and nothing is happening to them, these boys will become demons that will hunt for those girls we are protecting. So in as much as we have catering for the girls is like having a poultry and you have a snake somewhere. So you are giving food to your poultry, but then you are allowing the snake to come in. So such is the analogy for leaving the boys and caring for the girls. So our society, poverty, and all those things has a play in it. Because sometimes if some of these parents had the luxury of to take care of their children, they won't have been desegregation. But because of scarce of resources, there has to be segregation of resources. Sometimes, okay, maybe the female should take this, and we can leave the boy out of it.
The project was initiated in Lagos and featured adolescent boys and their school counselors from prominent schools within the state, as well as volunteers from the ministry and other NGOs dedicated to youth welfare. Day 1 featured a training session where the participants and volunteers discussed the perceived reproductive rights and needs of young boys. The boys were also trained to identify signs of abuse amongst their counterparts and given lessons on writing for advocacy and development. Day 2 featured a closed focus group discussion where the participants discussed real-life situations within themselves. This session was closed in order to allow the boys to speak freely.
The government should stop focusing on girls more than boys. If they keep focusing on girls, the bad activities in the society will get worse. Like all these 1 million boys, people are joining cultism, and that is not right. People are joining cultism, yahoo, another sort of bad activity.
The boy child, they need more counseling, and there need to be some focus on them. And I can make a difference by making a public announcement in my school and enlightening some of my mates in school about these needs of the boy child. And I can also write an advocacy to see what can be done to these needs.
The government to put more focus on the boy child, because recently nowadays they are putting more focus in the girl child than the boy child. So I need the government to put more focus by creating programs for the boy child, not only for the girl child alone.
I've seen a lot of bad activity in the society, like people joining cultists, people in the doing Yahoo. But what can stop them if the government puts more effort on boys? Because boys are the main subjects.
No, it's not only the government, even the family of the boy child, families of the family in which the boy child comes out from, they are like the background where they are the thing they're supposed to teach the boy child the thing he will hold on to for the rest of his life. It's supposed to teach him not only that don't impregnate a woman, don't do this, don't do that. They will teach him that it is good to do this and it is good to do that. It's good to be educated. They should enlighten the boys. Like most families now, they'll be like, "Sha, don't impregnate a woman." But it doesn't stop there. They need to educate them about sexual-based violence. They need to educate them about a lot of things. When you are like a normal child, a normal boy child, your your sexual organs they will not be functioning actively. But when you extend to the teenage age, you begin to see changes in your body, and those changes need to be attended to. You need to tell somebody that I'm seeing these so changes in my body. How should I go with it? They need attention. They need to teach them, educate them about their sexual and reproductive system.
The first thing is that we do need a policy because the first thing is that no one is talking about it. No one is doing anything about it. So, and if we want people to talk about it, to do something about it, we have to tell them how and where and when to do it. So that's why it is important that we draft our policy to show them how, because it will be very disheartening that we, after all this stress of saying, oh, we want the boy to be catered for, and now people are doing it, but not the way we want them to do. So we have to draft a policy for them to say, this is what we want the boy to do. And I think one of the things we want for the boys is a community where it is masculine sensitive. So all of our communities are usually feminine sensitive. So we want a community that is masculine sensitive with the fact that as a boy, when you are crying, then something is wrong with you. We want a community that is empathetic towards the male, because people feel like when as a guy, if you are crying, I mean, you're a weakling. So we want a community that is empathetic to the male too.
One of the major snippets is the sexual and reproductive health, should I say, service points. Like I'm sure if I ask anybody now, I actually did like a short survey amongst my friends. So what are the SRH needs, sexual and reproductive health needs of a boy? Nobody knows. And we are boys, but we don't know all these things because we have not been trained. We don't know that these things exist. Yes, we went through them, but we thought it was just like a cliche, because if you don't know how to name something, then it's hard for you to remember them. For example, at puberty stages, there are some peculiar needs of a boy child. There are some educations that boys need to be able to understand why their body is reacting in a certain way, and then now put it in check so that they don't now feel like, oh, any girl that passes I want to touch, or any girl that passes I want to harass or anything. Because some of these things can be avoided. But how can they be avoided? It is when boys are educated enough and they're equipped enough to actually be able to counter some of these thoughts and feelings that might arise from their growing up stage. So we're trying to draft a service point where it will include non-clinical, because we are not health-based, right? We're not healthcare professionals, right? So we're going to do non-clinical parts. So we're going to draft a way where we can ensure that public youth-friendly centers are also friendly to boys and men. So there is this very alarming data that I came across while doing my research and trying to draft the concept notes is about HIV prevalence rates. So I saw that we have more women, more girls contracting HIV by the day, but then we have more men dying from HIV by the day. So this only shows something, that the health-seeking behavior of men is very low in this part of the country, and not in the parts of the world. Men don't want to seek medical help even when they are dying, but women have been trained. Women with so many advocacy works, so many programs, church, house, community. Women have been well informed about things about their bodies. So if they notice any slight change, oh, I think it should be this. Let me go ahead and find out more about what is happening to my body. But a guy would say, rather than go, I'd rather just keep it with me, and then maybe it will just pass. I'm a man, I should be strong and all that. And that is how we have more men dying from HIV, because early detection leads to better treatment, and successively you can have your viral load reduced and you can live a normal life. But if you don't know all these things, you will not be able to mitigate them. And that is one of the reasons why we are trying to see how we can design that, present to the relevant authorities, especially specifically Ministry of Health now, so that you can include it into their programming and have boys protected as well.
The session ended with a policy draft, and as new advocates against gender based violence, participants were asked to draft a policy stating the roles they would play in being responsible for their female colleagues.
While growing up, I think there were tons of boys who were not really, had that knowledge about the fact that as a boy, showing your masculine ego is not necessarily, you don't need to take alcohol, you don't have to engage in drug abuse to show your masculine ego. Some people feel like for you to be a big boy, for you to be a big boy in the street, so you probably have to take alcohol, take drugs to show people that, oh, you are there too. So I think if these people have had access to the right information that these things are not good for your health and for this and that, and you don't even need to do this, and your intellect sometimes can prove you to be a good boy, can prove you to be, the talk of the town sometimes. So I think those are things that we need to tell the boys more often than not, because going away from the decent area, go to rural communities, the stories there is that you see boys who engage in things that are too big for someone at the age of their own dad self, because they have to do it, and that's their day-to-day activities, because that has been the norms in their society.
There is this issue of boys getting molested at a young age and then growing up to become molesters themselves. Now, if a boy child is molested at a young age and he grows up, he thinks it's normal. He wants to do it to other people. And if a boy that was younger was molested, and just imagine if the boy was able to report and probably he got psychosocial support and was helped through that process, and then he is now revamped and all that. Let me tell you just a very short story about myself. I was just 10-year-old when I witnessed a rape case, a rape incident physically, and then I ran out to call boys around. I did not know that they were actually part of the whole thing. So it was like somebody was keeping watch, and they slapped me and told me to get out of here, and I left. I left crying, but then from that moment henceforth, I saw the need to advocate against rape. It became something of so much passion that I wanted to stop it, because I have two sisters. I don't even imagine it happening to my sisters. So if I can grow up now to become a staunch advocate of against gender-based violence and even advocate for the rights of women and girls as much as I do currently, then imagine if you can replicate this to other boys. Now, I put myself on the line. I got myself educated. I got opened up to some of this information, and I impute it into how I relate with other people in my community, and I also spread the information like I'm doing today. Now, I want to create more boys like me. I want to create more men like me. If I am able to do that, then we will definitely be able to stamp out gender-based violence. Imagine a boy seeing a rape case, and he knows who to call. Imagine I knew who to call then. That girl would not have gone like that, because the girl later died. Imagine I knew who to report to. Imagine I knew what to do. Imagine I just, instead of going to call those boys, or probably I called those boys and they stabbed me, I still went ahead to look for someone else I could easily call. That would have not been the case. So that is what I'm trying to change. That's what we are trying to change. The dream came to my team, and then we brought in everybody's ideas, and today we're working on a policy draft, and we're also hoping that we can design a handbook that we can present to schools, especially that this goes to Ministry of Education now. Comprehensive sexuality education, help boys know about their bodies. When they know about their bodies, then they will respect the body of another person, and they will know how to treat other people, especially girls, women and girls. So my own agenda now is to strengthen boys and make them staunch advocates against gender-based violence, as I am, so that girls can be protected as well.
The policy statement, We the Boys, will be presented to relevant stakeholders and policymakers within Lagos State. Signboards showing the participants' stance on gender-based violence would be made to put up on selected schools within Agege and Mushin local government areas of Lagos State. The group also stated that they'd like to create manuals for widespread distribution across the state to help foster awareness about gender and sexual reproductive health rights for adolescent males. Reporting for High Impact Television, I am Esther Kalu.